Hey guys, Coach Herb, and just wanted to go over the Latin American revolutions that you've been studying over the past 2 days. You've read a lot about them, but I want to make sure that you have the correct information that you need for your test. You're at home now, and so if you're watching this video, um, you are wanting to make sure that you're ready for your test on Friday. And what I want to let you know is that you can use your online textbook on the test Friday. You are going to be able to use your one pager that you had added to. Most of you came back and got them, but some of you didn't. And don't want to punish you for that. You had no way of knowing that this was going to happen this week. So just wanted to make sure that you had a fair chance on this test. And so you're going to be able to use your online textbook on the test. But I'm still going to go over this information to make sure that you understand what these revolutions were really about. And I'll also describe your assignment for Thursday as well. So, again, the Latin American revolutions, the Latin American people win their independence. They were spurred by discontent, meaning that they were unhappy with their situations in life. And the Enlightenment ideals helped that grow because they saw people that had freedom. They saw people gaining liberties. And so people in Latin America began to fight colonial rule. Uh, this was a place that was very divided in terms of society. And you did a pyramid like the one on the screen on your one pager, but society was very divided in where you were born or how you were born or who your parents were really dictated your success in life in terms of society. And so there was a race and class system in Latin American countries, and it started uh, at the very top with the Peninsulares. These were people born in Spain. They made up about 11% of society, and um, they headed colonial governments in society. They held the best jobs. They had the most money, but because they were Europeans born in Spain that made the voyage across the ocean to Latin America. The second group under them were the Creoles. They looked like, talked like, ate like, acted like Peninsulares, but they were American born Spaniards. They were Europeans born in Latin America. They could hold some high jobs, but most of them became army officers and had places or roles in government, but not the head of the government. They could never be at the top because they were not born in Europe. And so that was a big distinction. Under those guys was the mestizos. These were uh, having both European and Indian ancestry. So these were European, had a European mother or father and an Indian mother or father. More than likely, it was a European father and an Indian mother. These mestizos would have some of the same traditions as the Europeans, but also would have had that Indian heritage from Latin America. Under those was the mulattoes and the slaves. These were Europeans that had integrated with the African American population through slavery and created this portion of society that was near the bottom but not quite at the bottom because the last group were the Native Americans or the Indians. They were at the bottom of society. And so you have this rigid class structure that is set up in Latin America. And obviously, the people that don't want change are the Peninsulares. They have the most power, and there are plenty of people that won't change. Imagine being someone that looks, talks, walks, acts just like someone that can have every job and has all the money in society, and you can't be a part of that. So you can imagine the Creoles and their issues with this. Of course, also, everyone else besides the Indians have a claim to be European. And then the Indians, of course, they have a claim to the land that had been taken from them from many years before that. So this class structure really causes some animosity between the different peoples in Latin America. The first ones we're going to talk, first revolution we're going to talk about is the revolutions in the Americas and really going with Haiti. The revolution in Haiti, it's the first Latin American territory to gain freedom from the colonial power of France. Toussaint L'Ouverture was the leader of this revolutionary movement, and he led a slave revolt in 1791, and that's him to the left there on your screen. Over 100,000 slaves fought for freedom, and so you have the social class that rose up in revolt against the Haitian government. And Toussaint eventually dies in prison, and he has to have someone take over for him. And Dessalines declares Saint Domingue a country in 1804, and eventually it's going to be renamed Haiti. It becomes the first black colony to win independence. And like I said, it is renamed Haiti, or meaning mountainous land in the Arawak language. And so you have this movement based on slavery, and they called him Black Napoleon. And whether or not that was the right term, it was because he was such a great military leader. Toussaint was L'Ouverture, and he he's the reason why they were able to gain independence. He started the movement. Someone had to fight for change, and a lot of this came about because of a lot of Napoleon's issues of reinstituting slavery and the cruel and harsh treatment that these people had in Haiti based off of their slave masters. And so they rose up in revolt because they saw things in America and in France that were going on, and they wanted those same freedoms from the Enlightenment. And so you have the uh, Haiti Revolution. And, if you have your one pager at home, if you're adding to it, you can add any of these details if you did not get some of these. The second revolution we're going to talk about is by Simon Bolivar. He is a Creole who leads Venezuela to revolution, to independence. Simon Bolivar was a wealthy Creole, having a lot of money, but of course, again, being a Creole, he could not hold much power, and he fights against the Spanish in Venezuela. His route to victory was a little different. They declared independence in 1811, but that's really not how it went. Uh, he and the revolutionaries were defeated many times by the Spanish, and he was even exiled twice before a massive turning point. So what was that? In 1819, 2,000 soldiers led by Bolivar led a surprise attack on the Spanish and won a decisive victory. Because of this victory, he gained some allies, and by 1821, they had actually won independence. So they declared it 10 years earlier, but they were never truly independent. But he was able to uh, overcome the Spanish forces and eventually lead them to independence. And so these Creoles rose up because they're frustrated at their place in society. The issue is racial injustice and many other things. And we'll see that a little bit later on when we start talking about enduring issues. The Creoles also had another movement in Latin America that we'll talk about, and that was San Martin and the Argentine Revolution. We actually read through this one in class, but we need to go back over it here. Uh, a new leader in Spain causes chaos in the colonies. So Napoleon overthrew Spain and put a new leader in charge, and of course that made a lot of the people in their Spanish colonies upset. This chaos led to new governments in Argentina led by the Creoles. You would have read that in your on your one pager. It talked about how the Creoles overthrew the government, did not want the Spanish viceroy Cisneros to be in charge, and so he was overthrown, and they created their own government. Of course, the Spanish had some things to say about that. Jose de San Martin, he was the leader of this revolutionary movement, and many battles with the Spanish take place between 1810 and 1816. And during that time, a lot of people probably would have died during these battles. They become independent in 1816 on July 9th, and he fought the Spanish during this time because they attempted to retake it. Again, colonies were very prosperous for the mother country, and so they didn't want to lose them without, any kind of uh, prosperous gain. And so when they declared independence, there was no like, hey, here's some money, we're free now. It was like, hey, we're free, we're not giving you anything anymore. And so the Spanish would want to retake this, but San Martin and the rebels were able to fight them off and maintain independence from this point on. And so again, another Creole leader, because they are the ones that can see the benefit of having power. They've been educated. They would have known the Enlightenment ideals, they would have had true power already, and the ability to change their situation and lead movements would have been a little bit more useful than, if you were an Indian or Native American or a slave or something like that. In Mexico, you had Father Hidalgo. You had some other ones, of course, and his cry for freedom. Uh, Miguel Hidalgo, or Father Hidalgo as he's called, was a priest who launches the Mexican Revolt in 1810. It was mestizos and uh, Indians or Native American followers that marched on Mexico City, thanks to his cry for Dolores, and you'll read a little bit about it later. The rebels rally around. Uh, they are defeated. Sorry, I didn't say that. The Spanish and the Creoles, which is weird. The Spanish and the Creoles defeat Hidalgo and the rebels, uh, which, we've seen the Creoles rise up and take other places, but here they fought along with the Spanish because they saw the benefit of sticking with the Spanish. They had the power. The Indians and the Mestizos did not. The Native Americans did not. And so the rebels are defeated, but 4 years later, they're led by another padre, Father Morelos, and he leads them. And eventually, he is defeated by a Creole officer in Turbid in 1815. So you have another Creole that is defeating the rebels. So they're fighting against this revolution. This is where it gets even more unique. In 1820, the Creoles fear new leadership in Spain. They see the changes that are coming about, and they see that maybe their place in society won't be respected, even though they're the ones that have put down the rebellions. So in Turbid, the guy that actually ended the first revolution there by Hidalgo and Morelos actually declares Mexico independent in 1821 from Spain. And so you have this unique story where he fought to end this revolution and then fights to declare them independent in 1821. So you have a couple of different revolutionary leaders you could definitely choose there. And even you could choose a couple of different social classes. Eventually, all the social classes start noticing that they're being mistreated and that they won't change. The last revolution we're going to talk about is Brazil's, one of the most unique in Latin America for sure. Because of wars in Europe, Napoleon invaded Portugal, and the royal family moves to Brazil, their colony. Portugal owned Brazil based off that Treaty of Tordesillas a long time ago during the Age of Exploration. And so they move there, and they hang out there for a while. It eventually returns to Portugal after Napoleon's defeat in 1850. Basically, like the video we showed yesterday, it talked about how they were like, hey, do y'all want to come home and be, the king and royal family of Portugal again? And eventually they do. But there's some unique features. The Portuguese prince, Dom Pedro, stays behind in Brazil. He decides that, Brazil's, a better place to live. And the Creoles petitioned him to do this. They're like, hey, we don't want to really be a part of Portugal anymore. We just want you to rule our country. And of course, he's like, my own country? Yeah, I'll accept. And so he accepts, and he declares Brazil's independence in September of 1822. And you'd think, okay, everybody else's fault to try to retake their colonies. What's Portugal going to do? Well, this is the unique part of what they did. It was claimed without violence or bloodshed. Basically, Portugal decided that no, they were fine, that they were good, and that they didn't need to overthrow the government or try to take back their colony, that they were fine. They were just happy without it, and Brazil would become its own country. And under the leadership of Dom Pedro, this revolutionary movement had no life or no loss of life and no problems. So they quickly became Brazil, and the rest is history. And so, so just some exit ticket questions here. Which group was at the top of the class system and did not revolt against colonial powers? Well, we saw that the Peninsulares had no reason to revolt. All the other classes had something to gain. They had all been treated differently by their skin tone or their color or where they were born, and that was a big deal. And why do you think they didn't revolt? Again, they didn't have any reason to. They didn't have any thing that they were going to lose. So, that was something of importance there. They didn't have any reason to revolt because they had society the way they wanted it. So that was a real quick version of what we would have done in class Thursday. Your assignment for Thursday is this enduring issues paragraph, and it's a unique assignment, something new to work on, something that we need to be thinking about. I told you yesterday in class that world history or studying history is not just about learning people and places and things. It's more about learning why things happened. And, you know, you've been studying these issues without even knowing it. And so this will serve as your writing portion of your test. So you need to complete this assignment over the course of the next few days. And the directions are very easy. It says, write an enduring issues body paragraph using at least 2 documents from the choices below. So you have 3 documents that you'll read through, and then you'll write this paper or this paragraph. So paragraphs somewhere between 5 to 8 sentences. Could it be longer? Sure. Does it have to be? No. What is an enduring issue? An enduring issue is a challenge or problem that a society has faced and debated or discussed across time. An enduring issue is one that many societies have attempted to address with varying degrees of success. Some examples of enduring issues: conflict, desire for power, inequity, need for and impact of innovation, impact of interconnectedness, impact of ideas and beliefs, environmental impact, scarcity, and population growth. And then I included a graph down here on the page to kind of show you what this is talking about. And so, problem versus goal. This is how to identify and define an enduring issue. If you are looking at exploitation, it happens when those in power abuse those not in power for gain. And that versus human rights. Human rights is the belief that all people have inalienable rights at birth and given to them by God or by nature. And so, obviously, I would imagine that there was some exploitation, inequity, inequality going on in Latin America. This is definitely one you could hit on. The second one, the maintaining of control of one group over another. And human agency is the idea that the ability of people to control their own lives definitely was happening in Latin America, right? Because you have people that could not dictate what jobs they had based off the style of life they had. Then you had slavery and you had other things. Scarcity versus technology. I don't think that we really have that issue here. Inequality versus strive for equality. Inequality is the unfairness that results from a hierarchy, and equality is the truest form. Has never been achieved, but has always been sought for. So we're looking for that all the time. And so your goal is to read through document 1, document 2, and document 3. In it, you then just down here list all of the enduring issues that connect documents 1, 2, and 3. Is there equality or inequality? Is there exploitation? Is there inequity? Is there a desire for power? Is there conflict going on? Is there an impact of ideas and beliefs? Those are enduring issues that we have always studied in history. At the bottom, you choose one of the enduring issues from the box above and write a paragraph explaining why it is an issue. So, you may come up with 10 issues, you may come up with 3. It doesn't matter. You pick one. So say you pick inequality. Then you write a topic sentence using both, and you got to use 2 documents. So using both documents to support your argument, make sure to include outside information as well, maybe your own ideas, maybe something you've read on the internet, but write a topic sentence. So if you were talking about inequality, your topic sentence might be the Latin, I'll just say it, the Latin American countries or the Latin American revolutions were a chance to change the inequality that was taking place in the social hierarchy of Latin America. Okay, and then why is it an enduring issue? People in Latin America shared the same traditions, ideas, and beliefs, but many could not hold the same type of jobs. same type of positions in society. And then I would document that using different sources from the documents above. And then I would connect it to today. Is there still inequality going on today? Are people still born in society that are treated differently based off their race, their skin color? And I would put those things in there. You know, and again, this is something we haven't done before, so I'm not looking for you to be perfect, but I want you to recognize that things that have been going on in history are going on today. Things that we have always discussed, we still discuss today. And do they, again, do you need to know about Father Morales of the Mexican Revolution? Maybe not, but you need to know that they dealt with a lot of the issues that we dealt with too. Okay? So if you have any questions with this, again, please email me and I'll try to clarify anything that I didn't go over very well or anything that you just don't understand. Of course, another great resource is the internet. If you don't know what's going on, try to look up what's going on and see if you can add to your knowledge, not just based off me, but based off of what somebody else may say. And again, if you need any help, let me know. Your test is Friday. You can start taking that at home whenever you feel ready, and you can use your online textbook to take the test as well. Um, if you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.